welcome to another Making Sense with Delise. And today, in this video, we're going to talk about the strategy of control that happens in relationships. This video is for those of you that are struggling with control in various ways. Often we associate control with quite extreme measures, such as rage and violence and so on, and that is the extreme of control. But a lot of control happens in many different ways, and we can have a strategy of control that is more insidious. Perhaps many of us can relate to a need for control and to feel control of our lives. And this video is for those of you that struggle with that in relationships and where you are maybe exerting control on your partner more than you would like or more than you realize. So let's talk a little bit about control and how we actually live under the illusion of control. So what do we mean by that when we say illusion of control? One way of thinking about this is that we can feel in control, particularly when everything is going well, where everything is going according to our plans and how we'd like our lives to be. We may even have lots of reasons that we can convince ourselves of how we have control. Things are going well because I did this or that, or I made this decision, I organized things in this way, so on and so forth. However, then something happens, and it can be quite small, it can be quite large and devastating, that brings up the fact that we actually don't have control. Now, at these times, we can often see the reason that we don't have control is because someone else or something else has taken our control away, as if we had it in the first place, and they are now controlling us. So that in that way, we're still maintaining this illusion of control, and all we need to do is kind of get it back. These moments are important because they confront us with the reality of how much lack of control we might have in our life. And so we can either wake up to this reality and work through the feelings, the experience of that, to a place of being at peace with that reality. Or we can double down on really trying to regain the control back and maintain this illusion of control. So how we respond to these times when that's mirrored to us will determine your ease in your life and your relationships. If it is difficult for you to work through these moments, other than trying to control, the consequences will and often do escalate. And this is because for the person who needs control in that moment, they don't really achieve it, except maybe for a moment that you get your way, but then your partner's going to do something else to express their independence or power, largely because we all have a need for our own choices and feelings and agency, and not to be dominated by somebody else. So as time goes on, if the response is to keep trying to get control, then you are likely to become more frustrated and more angry with each new or repeat experience of what you can't control. So let's talk about what happens more specifically in relationships. Very simply, control involves trying to stop your partner doing what they want to do or trying to get them to do what you want them to do. Many of us fail to see ourselves as controlling, and I admit I had to learn this also, because we have lots of justifications for the things that we are pressuring our partner to do or not do. After all, it makes sense. We want them to be kinder, less critical, not judge us, and listen to us when we're talking to them. Sounds reasonable, right? But here's the thing about control. When control is present, There is no negotiation. So when your request to someone becomes a demand and in your mind you don't think there even should be a choice about it, then you are trying to control them. By trying to force your partner to change to a happier, better, healthier version of themselves is control. And an attempt to feel more comfortable in some way or another for yourself. So rather than working on coming to terms with our own discomfort, we control someone else to avoid, feelings of uncertainty, disappointment, and being out of control. So let's maybe look at this as a continuum where there is, as you can see, this increase in threats and intimidation. And in its most extreme form, control, of course, can lead to violence and abuse and rage, as in the red zone. In regards to control, it might be important just at this point to acknowledge the impact that patriarchy has on men and women and the way in which control manifests in relationships. Patriarchy supports power over, not power with. And so men in particular are taught to equate masculinity with invulnerability, which of course leads to a need for control and dominance to protect from being vulnerable. So anything or anyone who might bring up a sense of vulnerability needs to be controlled. Plus, patriarchy promotes the idea that men are entitled in some way to power and control. We're not going to focus a lot on the red zone in this video, but just to say that working on your relationship cannot happen until there is safety. And when violence and rage is happening, of course, it's not safe. And the best thing you can do is leave until it is safe and until you are safe to be around. Most of what happens in relationships lies in the blue and gray zone. So when we look at this, controlling behavior involves in some way or another a lack of negotiation, an invasion of the other's physical, emotional, and mental boundaries, and a belief in your own superiority. You know what's best. So here in the blue zone, the main focus here is on wanting to change the person to avoid conflict and disappointment, or to have things done a certain way, or get your needs met in relationships. Controlling behavior involves demands, criticisms, and constant pressure, often telling your partner what to do and what not to do, and what you should do. There's often an inability or unwillingness to hear the other person's point of view, and conversations become dominated by the controlling person's point of view, feelings, and experience. So if you tend to interrupt a lot or quickly dismiss your partner's opinions, then just know that that is a need for control, that there is a way in which you are attempting to control what it is that's going on. The other aspect in the blue zone in particular, and of course this can happen in the gray as well, giving feedback to the controlling person is also difficult because they tend to dismiss it out of hand or will turn it back on you. Giving advice in the vein of what you think your partner should do is controlling, especially when they have not asked for your advice. In the blue zone, there really often is underneath this focus on perfectionism. You are trying to change the other person into some form of perfect partner, often where there is an idealized picture of who a partner should be. So here in the gray zone, where I know what's best, then there's more of that superior attitude. And along with that, perhaps more threatening behaviors, increase in emotional manipulation. And here you might get into a kind of bullying behavior, disrespecting time and space, and wearing the other person down to agree with you or do what you want. Threats are about what you are going to do that would cause the person harm. Threats are not just about physical harm, as in the red zone, but can be about a whole number of things. Leaving the relationship or withholding attention or affection, threatening to reveal something to someone else, or they can be about refusing to honor an agreement as a kind of punishment for not conforming to something. Threats of self-harm can also be used to manipulate and control. It is not unheard of for a partner to feel stuck in a relationship out of fear that their partner may self-destruct or harm themselves if they were to leave. Other times, a person may be threatened with losing their home, access to their children. Now, the important thing is not whether the threats are genuine or even possible, a lot of them. These threats take an emotional toll and are a way for the controlling person to get what they want. Another focus of control that can come up in the I know what's best category is under the guise of protecting or taking care of or concern for a partner. For the person wanting control, concern can become a reason to take over an area of a person's life. Might be in terms of health or well-being, you knowing what is best for them and becoming relentless about making that happen. The key is always around negotiating and hearing both sides. And when that's absence, then there is a focus of control. Thank you for listening, and if you got to the end of this video and you like this video, give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time.